Hello everyone, Scott Leuthold with 4XPEDITION. Welcome to another episode. Today I'm out here at Fish Creek Canyon, which is a beautiful little canyon in the heart of the Superstition wilderness in central Arizona. It's just a beautiful February day to be out here, and I thought I would come out here and capture some really nice content to share with all of you, especially for those of you who are in the North Country where it's really cold right now and it's really hard to get outside and truly enjoy nature. I do appreciate seeing a lot of YouTube videos recently posted by people who are up in Canada or northern Wisconsin or northern Minnesota or Montana, different places, even upstate New York, where they're outside and exploring the wilderness in the cold weather, even hot tent camping, snowshoeing, and so forth. So I've enjoyed watching all those videos. I'm here in the warm, beautiful Sonoran Desert of Arizona right now. This time of the year is the best time of the year to be here. And pretty soon it'll be too hot to be here, and I'll be doing a lot of my exploring up in the North Country of Arizona, up near Flagstaff, or up near Durango, Colorado, places like that. But for now, I'm really out here truly enjoying the Southwest, and would like to share that with you, and hopefully you can sit in your armchair and relax and enjoy the adventure with me. Here we are at the bottom into the canyon down in Fish Creek, which is running, but very minimally. This does become a pretty rushing stream during rainstorms and monsoons. I've got probably upwards of about 6 or 8 waterfalls that come off the top of the cliffs here. They're absolutely incredible. In fact, I'll show you the black areas up here. It's called desert varnish. Usually during monsoon seasons, those spots are just cascading with waterfalls, really incredible. Every time I come through this canyon, it's different. As the seasons come and go, I've been hiking in this canyon for probably upwards of 20 years. I brought a number of people back here. There's no trail. It's all bushwhacking, but it changes obviously because the rainstorms come and the different seasons, and the rain washes boulders down and all over the place and changes the landscape of the canyon. I've hiked back here alone many times as well. It's probably one of my favorite canyons in the entire Superstition wilderness. And I've done a lot of backpacking in the Superstitions. I've never really backpacked in this canyon just because you can only go so far back, and it's not really a backpacking type place. I've always loved the water reflection in the wintertime, because in the fall all the leaves fall off the trees and they settle in the stream, and because there's so much content that falls into the stream, the water sits in certain places and becomes somewhat stagnant, and as the leaves start to decompose, it puts a film across the top of the water, and when you look straight down at it, it actually reflects the blue sky, and it makes the water look just absolutely brilliant blue. And I love this sort of look so much that I actually used it on the cover of my book, which I'll talk to you about in just a little bit. I actually brought a copy of the book along so I can show you the book cover. But this makes for some really beautiful photography. So I'm about a quarter of the way back into the canyon. There's a sort of a natural staircase, if you will, that climbs up part of the wall and gets around some really massive boulders that you wouldn't be able to ascend without some equipment. But if you look, you see that little incline there, it goes up and then goes up here, and that allows you to stay up above these boulders here, which from here don't look very big, but as you get over there and start looking down over them, you'll notice that they're pretty massive. So I'm now on top of that plateau on the side of the canyon, and these boulders over here are right on the edge, and it drops straight down into the water. But here's an example of one of the boulders. This thing's probably the size of, almost the size of a tractor trailer. Getting up on top of this particular boulder, I've gotten up there once or twice by doing some bouldering, but it's not an easy rock to climb. So basically you drop back down here and go around some of these boulders. Hey everybody. The first thing you're probably going to notice is that it's sunny out, and in the previous frame it was shady. And there's a good reason for that. I've been doing this sort of thing, adventuring in the backcountry, for probably upwards of, well, my whole life. Back in high school I would do some backpacking and did some mountain bike backpacking, some winter camping. And then I moved to Arizona when I was 19, and I've been here 27 years. I'm 48 years old. And in all those years that I've been doing this kind of stuff, I've always brought my cameras, I've always shot a lot of beautiful photography, but the one thing I hadn't really done much of is video. And so the reason there's a difference between the earlier frame in the shade and this frame in the sun is because I am not on top of my game yet with this whole video thing. And so I got all the way out here and realized I didn't bring a charger for my phone. And I'm using my iPhone mounted to a Beast Grip Pro, which is mounted to a tripod. And on the Beast Grip I can mount microphones and LED lighting and things like that. But it's far from a perfect scenario. As you probably can tell from either this video or previous videos, my audio kind of sucks. The video is not the best quality. I've got an iPhone 6S, so I'm going to upgrade to the new X here soon. I want to get a lens mount for the front of the Beast Grip so that I have better zoom capabilities, and I'm going to get a lav mic. I just haven't gotten around to getting those things done, and I've got so many other things going on with my businesses and so on that I just want to get out here and capture some quality content. Well, anyway, my phone died when I got to this very spot. And because I care about creating quality content, I decided that I would throw my backpack on and hike back to my car, plug in my phone into my car, charge my phone, and then hike all the way back out here. Now, that's not as big of a deal as it sounds. I'm pretty far back in this canyon, but I'm not... It's not like a distance hike. This is a scramble hike. You're bushwhacking through trees and crossing streams and bouldering. But I'm only about probably a mile, 3/4 of a mile back from my car. So I went back to my car and I charged my phone. And when I put my camera away and my tripod away and I huff it, I can make it out of here pretty quick. So anyhow, we're back out here and capturing this beautiful scenery, and I've got some interesting things I want to talk about with you today. But before we do that, I'm going to have a little lunch. Take a look at that blue sky. I'm out here in February. That's what's amazing about Arizona. There's not a single cloud in that sky. It's probably in the high 60s. I could be wearing shorts probably, short sleeve tee. This canyon's a beautiful, beautiful place. I just want to say how much I appreciate the video content that I've been finding on YouTube of other people doing backcountry expedition and survivalist skills or self-reliance. And a lot of those people are out there. Capturing this content in the dead of winter, and they've got incredibly warm layers on, and they're out camping in tents and so forth. And I just have to say that it's inspiring. I really appreciate the content these people are creating, and it certainly motivates me. And yes, here I'm in Arizona, the weather's beautiful this time of the year. In the summertime, it's really freaking hot. So, you know, I think it's just one of those things where I'm out creating content here in the Arizona desert in the wintertime when the weather's beautiful, and I'll probably capture more content up in the mountains of northern Arizona or Colorado or something like that once summertime hits. But these people are up in Canada in the dead of winter in the coldest part of the year in creating amazing content that's very inspiring and mesmerizing for me anyway to watch. So I just wanted to acknowledge and throw out some kudos to people who create quality content on YouTube and inspire people to get out and spend more time in nature. And frankly, it's one of the motivating factors for me to get out into nature and actually capture quality content. Now, like I said, I've been doing this for most of my life, and in absolutely all of my adult life here in Arizona, and I've gotten to many, many very remote places, but I've never really captured the content other than taking photographs, and I've used those photographs to truly inspire people on Facebook and different social media and so on, and I've always gotten a lot of positive feedback. But creating video content's completely a different thing, an entirely different animal. So anyhow, just wanted to make that acknowledgement. So I'm still reading this book, Voluntary Simplicity. I wanted to read a little excerpt here for you. Consider the words of Nadine Stair of Louisville, Kentucky, who was 85 years old when she wrote the following, entitled, "If I Had My Life to Live Over." I'd like to make more mistakes next time. I'd relax. I would limber up. I'd be sillier than I've been in this trip. I would take fewer things seriously. I would take more chances. I would climb more mountains and swim more rivers. I would eat more ice cream and less beans. I would perhaps have more actual troubles, but I'd have fewer imaginary ones. You see, I'm one of those people who lives sensibly and sanely hour after hour, day after day. Oh, I've had my moments, and if I had to do it over again, I'd have more of them. In fact, I'd try to have nothing else. Just moments, one after another, instead of living so many years ahead of each day. I've been one of those persons who never goes anywhere without a thermometer, a hot water bottle, a raincoat, and a parachute. If I had to do it again, I would travel lighter than I have. If I had my life to live over, I would start barefoot earlier in the spring and stay that way later in the fall. I would go to more dances. I'd ride more merry-go-rounds. I'd pick more daisies. Now, I haven't been creating video content for a YouTube channel for very long. I created a few videos several years back, threw them up on a YouTube channel, but I really haven't pursued building a YouTube channel much until now, and it's turning out to be a pretty decent initiative. I'm starting to get a lot of interest in people following up with me and following along, staying in touch, so on. And I'm doing that primarily to inspire people, but also because I'm trying to work on building the 4XPEDITION brand, and I've got a pretty substantial model that I'm following that I created for building the brand for 4XPEDITION. I've got a lot of experience in that area, and it's going to take some time, but I want to do it organically without spending a lot of money on advertising and so on. And I've done that before for people and for other businesses that I've run and had success with that, but you know, 4XPEDITION is my baby, and so I really want this to be a long-term positive initiative in my life, and I want it to be a part of my life that I spend a lot of time working on and I'm passionate about, and turn it into a viable business. But for those of you who really don't know who I am, I just wanted to share a little bit of something with you. I'm the author of this book. This book's called Rediscovering Your Divine Music, Finding Harmony and Balance Through Inner Peace. And I mentioned earlier that I would show you the cover of this book because it has that reflection of blue sky on the water that I was talking about earlier. I'll try to give you a good shot of it here, and also I'll do a little bit of B-roll on it. But this book has been sold all over the world. It sits on bookshelves in some of the remotest places that I could possibly imagine. In Africa and Bali, Australia, all over South America, Europe. It's just been and of course all over the United States. It's just been a beautiful book that I created back in and published in 2011. This book basically introduces to people a concept of sustainability through realizing our connection to all things. And in order to realize our connection to all things, we have to first realize our connection to one another. And in order to realize our connection to one another, we first have to deal with our personal BS. And when I say BS, I mean belief systems. So, generally speaking, the book talks about how I accomplished this and how I was able to overcome a lot of my life traumas and personal BS, and then come to realize that I am interconnected with other people and with everyone. And if I'm interconnected with everyone, I must also be interconnected with nature. I must also be connected with animals. I must also be connected with plants and trees and whatnot. And once we come to that realization that we are interconnected with everything, that everything is one, we start to look at the world in a different way. We start to respect the planet more, care more about creating sustainability, care more about creating a respectful, loving environment in the world. The book was inspired by reading that I did back in my 20s. I did a lot of reading of transcendentalist writers like Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and more recently John Muir. And interestingly, they all spoke about the divine music that we find in nature. And I have basically determined that the divine music in nature is an energetic vibration. When we're out in nature, we feel something. We feel something very different than when we're in the city. Out here, we sense something, we feel something, we feel an interconnectedness, we have a sense of awe. And I decided I wanted to capture that in this book. And so if you haven't had a chance to read it, you might consider finding it on Amazon, or you can also visit tokenrock.com, tokenrock.com, and the book is for sale there also. But you can find it on Amazon as well. For instance, I've got a couple quotes in here from Thoreau, who says, "Each more melodious note I hear brings this reproach to me, that I alone afford the ear, who would the music be?" And I believe he's talking about how he has a revelation in nature and senses a divine music and is contemplating who or what that music is. And maybe he's referring to some higher source. One of my favorite excerpts in the book is a quote by John Muir. "When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find that it is bound fast by 1,000 invisible cords that cannot be broken to everything in the universe. I fancy that I can hear the heart beating in every crystal, in every grain of sand, and see a wise plan in the making and shaping and placing of everything in every one of them. All seems to be dancing in time to divine music." Muir also goes on to say, "If for a moment you are inclined to regard these taluses as mere draggled, chaotic dumps," and a talus is a pile of rocks going up the side of a mountain, that loose rock, "climb to the top of one of them, tie your mountain shoes firmly over your instep, and with braced nerves run down without any haggling, puttering hesitation, boldly jumping from boulder to boulder with even speed. You will then find your feet playing a tune and quickly discover the music and poetry of rock piles. A fine lesson, and all nature's wilderness tells the same story. Storms of every sort, torrents, earthquakes, cataclysms, convulsions of nature, etc., however mysterious and lawless at first sight they may seem, are only harmonious notes in the song of creation, varied expressions of God's love." One thing that I'm truly appreciating about my commitment to creating quality content in a YouTube channel is that it inspires me to get out into nature a lot more, practically every single weekend, which is something I've not had an opportunity to do as much in my life as I would like. I've definitely done a lot of backcountry expedition and just adventures in general, but you know, I've had other obligations, including being married, or in relationships with people, or probably more important is the fact that I had a child to raise. And my son, he's come with me on a number of adventures, but he's now gotten to the age where he's primarily doing his own thing. And soon he'll be graduating high school, as I've mentioned in past videos. And maybe I'll get him to go with me on some of those adventures still in the future. Probably. But I'm finding myself having a lot more time to myself. I've also had businesses to run where I've been under deadlines to get things done, so I've worked over the weekends, where I've owned homes, where I've been working on renovations or landscaping or what have you. And now though, as I've also mentioned in past videos, I'm working toward a path of life simplicity, and I would really like to free up a lot more of my time to create, you know, moments of true joy out in nature, and at the same time doing something I'm passionate about and building a brand in 4XPEDITION. So that really excites me, and now I'm single, so I don't really have a partner, although I've had partners who are also very outdoorsy and really love the wilderness and all of that. So it's not that I haven't been able to get out into nature with a partner, but now I'm pretty much free to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. So, and with this initiative to creating a more simple life and adding a lot more value to my life, you know, it's really been a boon for me to be out here pretty much every weekend capturing this content. And the more I capture, the more, you know, the better I'll get at it, the higher the quality it'll get, and eventually I feel like I'll have some really high-end, beautiful video content, and you know, that will go a long way to helping build my brand. So anyhow, I just thought I'd share that little tidbit I was thinking about while I was hiking through this canyon.